Representative Ron DeSantis and Representative Brian Babin. Congressman Babin, you actually have a new proposal out that calls for an immediate ban on admitting refugees into this country. And the New York Times, excuse me, really took you to task on this in an editorial headline, "Slamming Shut America's Door." Where did they get this wrong?
Well, I think their whole basic philosophy is wrong. You know, when the FBI director and the Homeland Security Secretary are telling the country and telling the president that they can't properly vet these refugees that are coming in, and our duty as elected officials is to protect the health and safety and the national security of this country. I think it goes without saying. Let's stop the refugee influx until they can be vetted properly, and that's exactly what my bill does. It will suspend the program from the hotspot areas of the world where jihad is going on until we can properly vet these people. Let's stop it. And I think it's a clear and present danger to our people, our citizens, our constituents. And so for that reason, we are fighting very hard to make this happen.
Now, this particular piece says that to people like Mr. Babin, facts seem to mean very little, saying that Syrian refugees have not created or any sort of harm or violence in this country, and that the overwhelming majority of these terrorist attacks have been of the homegrown variety. So even if we were to have stopped recent immigration, these people, their parents came here 20 years ago, maybe even longer, and that somehow inherently there's a problem or issue within America, and that even foreigners who put their lives on the line for America are being mistreated. What do you take this notion that somehow the shoe's on the other foot and that these would-be terrorists or these kids who are in the process of radicalization, that they're the ones who are the victims here?
Well, I think, look at the Paris attack that we had a few months ago with that many people killed and wounded, and it's absolute proof that at least one of these individuals was a Syrian refugee that came through Greece and wound up in Paris. And we just arrested just a few weeks back a plot by an Iraqi refugee to blow up shopping malls in my district there in Houston, Texas. It's the philosophy of political correctness that is getting people killed around the world and in the United States of America. And I'll tell you something else, Charles. We can help 12 refugees in their homelands or in countries and territories next to their homelands for every one that we bring into America. It will save money, it will save these people's lives, and it will take better care of them because you can look at Western Europe. These folks, a lot of them just do not assimilate. They create no-go zones.
No doubt.
Look at the jihad that goes on there.
There's no doubt about that. Representative DeSantis, of course, Florida, your home state, the scene of the most recent horrific attack, the worst since 9/11. What's the mood like there? What's the feeling? Do you feel maybe a sea change in the notion that maybe it is smart to change the pause button?
Yeah, Charles, I think from these countries where there are known terrorist hotbeds, I think we'd be foolish to have this huge flow of refugees. We need to pause that. The FBI director said we cannot vet them. And when you're bringing people in from those areas, you may be bringing terrorists, but even if they're not terrorists, if they prefer Sharia law and that type of society over American society, they're apt to end up in these enclaves where that will breed radicalism in the subsequent generations. We've seen it with the Somali immigrants in Minnesota, and of course, we've seen it with the second-generation people in Florida, not just Omar Mateen, but Abu Salah, who went to the same mosque as Mateen down in Port St. Lucie.
Right, and of course, he was the first American to go to Syria and become a bomber there. Gentlemen, thank you both very much for your time. We really appreciate it. At home, we always